We thought to kick things off, we've got a question from the team, and it is this: how does encryption work? And my expert to answer it is Emily Taylor, CEO of the DNS Research Federation, which specialises in cyber intelligence, and the editor of Chatham House Journal of Cyber Policy. Emily, welcome. You're our first expert.
Wow, thank you for having me on the show, Alexis.
Now, look, let us start with the basics, because a lot of people hear about encryption. You know, your WhatsApp messages are encrypted. The government doesn't like encryption much because they think they need to have a little back door to encryption and be able to read messages that they deem important. But let's put all that aside and focus on encryption itself. What is it?
Well, really, it's a posh word for the protection of secrets. You know, and we all do it when we want to say things in, say, a crowded room and we don't want everyone to understand. We tend to slip into code. I mean, if you've got children, it might be that when you want to go out to the park, you might say, should we, go out to the park? And that's just a very simple way that we try to keep secrets while in a public space. And of course, the internet is a very public space. There are lots of prying eyes around. And so it's a mathematical way of protecting secrets and making sure that you know who they've been sent by and who they've been received by.
Okay, so they are scrambled. How do you encrypt a message? So I am going to send you, Emily, a text message that says, "Hi there, Emily. How are you doing today?" What happens?
Well, I mean, nowadays it's done by maths, but of course it's got a long history. It's not a new thing at all. There's early examples of encryption right from the ancient world onwards, traditionally used by elites. But nowadays what happens, so if you're going to send me a message you don't want other people to read, the most common way of that happening is I would give you what's called my public key. And that's just a string of numbers and letters that really just belong to me, but a kind of semi-secret, if you like. Mm-hmm. Then you use that to scramble the message. You send it to me, and I use my secret key that only I know, my private key, to unlock it. So you've got two elements: a completely private and a sort of semi-public that you share with friends. And that way I know that message came from you, and you know that nobody else except for me will be able to read it. And this is the element of end-to-end encryption. So, of course, you and I can't read or interpret those scrambled messages. They have to be translated back into those messages. So at the ends of an end-to-end encrypted channel, the messages are perfectly readable. Otherwise, there'd be no point.
But the whole point is that whilst they're travelling, whilst they're making their way through the fibre optic cable, so to speak, they are encrypted. So no one can... If someone intercepts that message, it will be useless to them unless they have your public key and your private key. Is that right?
So if it's heading towards me, the only thing, and you've wrapped it up with my public key, the only thing that will unlock it is my private key. So you're absolutely right. Yes, it's protected against what we would call a man-in-the-middle attack. In other words, an interception.
And your public key, what happens if someone gets hold of that? So let's say I'm a bad actor, as they called, or a hacker. I grab your public key. Is that... I need more, don't I?
You do, and that's really why the public and private key encryption, which was sort of discovered or formulated in the 70s, in fact by two GCHQ operatives, and the government immediately classified it, but it was independently reinvented. It's been a really persistent and safe way of protecting messages because of that. So my public key gets into the wrong hands. Okay, not wonderful, but some people just actually publish their public key. So anybody can use it. Journalists often do that if they want people to feel confident in contacting them. You need both elements. to be able to decrypt those messages. So if I tell you my private key, then I've given away secrets. As they say, it's not me who gives away secrets, it's the people I tell them to. And so, that in the end, like the Matt Hancock example shows us that if you have messages in WhatsApp, they're still not completely protected, because if you end up giving them to journalists or giving them to people who've got them in an unencrypted format, then they're still readable.
Emily, I've understood that. So we've got success of our first ever Ask Alexis section. So thank you for being so clear with what sometimes can be quite a confusing issue. Emily Taylor, thank you for giving us your time.
Thank you.
CEO of the DNS Research Federation, specialises in cyber intelligence, and the editor of Chatham House Journal of Cyber Policy.